Do you have to do the countdown, or do you have to?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think we're good. So,
We're live, Mr. Chairman.
hey, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Painesville Township Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. If you're here for that, you're in the right place. Otherwise, you might want to be watching the baseball game, as I understand. Okay. Um, my name is Dave Inzer. I'm Vice Chair of the Board of Zoning Appeals. We're down three of our members this evening, but we have a quorum, so we're still good to go. So we're going to proceed along. Uh, it's our practice to begin each meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you could stand and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, Rachel, could I ask you to do the roll call, please?
Okay, Randy,
Here.
Dale,
Here.
and Vice Chairman.
Here. Okay, so we have a quorum. Jeremy, can I turn it over to you and do a swearing in of our witnesses, please?
Sure. Jeremy Iosu, the legal advisor here at the township. And because this hearing is a quasi-judicial hearing that can be appealed to the Court of Common Pleas, we have to have a good, clean record because that's the record that would be used on appeal. So I have to have anybody who is going to be speaking for or against, I'm assuming both you guys are speaking for, stand and raise your right hand, and I'll swear you in. So you just answer the question that I ask. Do you swear that any testimony that you give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. Rachel, could you read case 2023-0005-BZA into the record, please?
Okay. Applicant 1522 Mentor LLC submitted a conditional use application for property located at 1518 Mentor Avenue. The request is for drive-through facilities for a Charlie's Philly Steaks restaurant.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I see no error in our zoning inspector requiring the applicant to come forward to the meeting for a conditional use permit. And just to clarify, this is specifically for a drive-through facility of this particular establishment. So with that, would anyone like to come and tell us what you're looking at doing? And if you would come up, state your name and address us from the podium so we can hear you on that'd be great.
My name is Michael Allen. I am a construction project manager with Charlie's Corporate. We're based in Columbus, Ohio, a franchisor with about 850 stores right now around the world. Working with the landlord, and he has demised a space that had formerly been a bank. We're considered an end cap. He installed a drive-through window for us, and the plan, if you're familiar with the property, it's fairly wide. So the plan for the drive-through is to come in on the car parts side entrance, coming around all the way across the back and then around to the front. We're looking at, I gotta think, at least 30 cars that could stack, which is something that we never see. I mean, typically it's 10 to 12 cars at peak hours for us to have. We have about a 5-minute service time per customer. As you come around the back, the building, the car parts building is deeper than the portion that we're in, and we're putting in, and I don't know if those are in yet or not, the bollards, but we're putting in bollards to follow that line of the building around to the side of the building, so there's no issue about where the heck to go or whatever. And of course, we'll have the whole thing striped and with the drive-through lane identified. When you come to the end of the car parts building, we'll have a small, they call it a pre-sale board that just has, what our specials are or whatever. And then as you get close to where you turn to go to the drive-through window, we have a drive-through menu that's kind of a one-piece unit that's menu and has a canopy with lights in it and a communication system. So, you can talk to the crew person. Also at the ground there, we have what's called a detector loop. So when they drive up, it dings somewhere inside, so they know, a customer's there. And I think I don't have the drawing right in front of me, but I brought a couple. I think there's at least 4 or 5 cars from the menu to the drive-through window as well. So from our experience, I don't anticipate any issues with traffic. That's about all I've got, unless you have questions for me.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. I'd have one question right off. How many windows are you anticipating where you'll be actually
Just
doing
one.
the transaction?
Just
the
one.
And is that the window that's in the building right now?
Yes.
Okay, so you've already put that in. And when you're talking about the posts
Mm-hmm.
to make, those are up already? Are those the ones that are already in place, the yellow ones? Okay,
That's just going to help direct the traffic, and we'll have that striped around there too,
Gotcha.
so there won't be any issue.
okay. So when we're looking at, so in our zoning resolution, there's a section 12.0 that talks about conditional use permits, and 12.9 deals specifically with drive-through windows. And one of the requirements is for every window of transaction, you have at least 10 spaces to stack cars. So we do have a drawing that was submitted with the application, and it looks like you could, it looks like 10 would easily fit, but could you verify that? You mentioned,
I and I don't have. I mean, I have the same drawing that you have, but with the length of the building, what we typically keep in mind when we're doing these is basically 20 feet per car.
Mhm.
That allows for the biggest SUV versus a VW Bug or something, and I think it's 12 feet wide.
Mhm.
So with that consideration, and actually I work in AutoCAD. If you'd like, I mean, I could send you something tomorrow where I actually put in, the numbers of cars. But I have to think between when you come in the entrance to the lot, from there all the way around, that at least 20 cars, I mean, maybe even more, will fit in there without involving traffic in the on the street.
Okay. Um, and then the other question I have is, so you're going to come in off of Route 20, and then you'll drive down to the east of the O'Reilly Auto Parts store,
I don't know about the east-west, but yeah, going
Yeah.
past their parking on the
Right.
side.
and then you'll come
Coming around.
behind. Right. So will there be? I presume I didn't check, but is there? If folks are parked at O'Reilly's Auto Part and they're parked,
Right, they are.
if they want to back up and get out of there,
I don't see any issue again because of the length of the building across the back, plus coming around
Yeah.
up to the drive-through window.
Mhm.
And the only time I've ever seen, I don't know how it is for you, but here in Columbus, my neighborhood, we didn't have a White Castle,
Mhm.
and they put one in, and oh my God, the first month, I mean, there's a double lane all the way around the building to get to the place, and then you go by there now, there's 3 cars maybe in the drive-through.
Mhm.
Even with that, the grand opening kind of traffic and things, I, yes, there may be a little issue between the parking and, if the lane gets really heavy, but people are usually pretty good about, you come out to your car, the next guy stops and doesn't move up and lets the car out or whatever. But on our typical business, it'll never back up there.
Okay.
You mind if I chime in for a minute?
Yeah,
I'd
please.
love it.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jay Romer. I'm one of the owners of the shopping center. I just wanted to point out a couple things here. Thank you very much for bringing this up.
Oh, yeah.
So this area right here was the canopy for the drive-through for the bank that was there before. So all we've wound up doing is taking down the canopy so nobody's crashing into anything. We'll only have one lane of traffic instead of two, which is what used to be here, because there were 2 sets of like pneumatic tubes and then the infrastructure for that. So our whole idea when we acquired the building, which was only about a year ago, was to reutilize this vacant space for a food purpose, because in our experience as real estate owners, drive-through food is it's here to stay for at least another 20 years. And so we felt as though that would be a good use for this particular location. And so we demo that entire structure there. So really, there's only it's kind of a quirky setup on the inside now because there's about 1,600 square feet on this side, and then there's about 1,000 square feet for another tenant that right now it's a vacancy. But and you folks know your town better than I do. But I mean, if you guys ever had a problem in the past with cars stacking for the bank, I'd be shocked. And it's kind of a feast or famine situation in terms of the timing when people want to eat. It's like
Lunch and dinner.
yeah, right. It's probably dead at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, I don't think that this is going to be the same for many of the other restaurants that you folks have in the. I mean, Menor Avenue is got every different concept known to man, and as you all know, the three biggest submarkets in the Cleveland area are Menor, Mayfield, and North Olmsted in terms of concepts. So I'm not at all surprised that Charlie's would want to be here in your community, and I think they're going to make their sales for sure.
Good, thank you. One other question I have: lighting. Do you anticipate doing anything different with the lighting as it currently exists there?
There's going to be a couple of exterior lights on the drive-through side, but no, the rest of that's on on Jay as far as.
Right now, if I'm not mistaken, we've got a couple different things going on. So actually, just last year we added new parking lot lights on the front in this landscape area. We replaced those. Then we have security lighting here, here, and here on different light poles that basically we lease from the power company, but it's on like a telephone pole, and then we lease those. And I'm sure you guys have seen them before. They're about they're almost as big as this sheet, and then they're kind of angled. And in a couple of instances, thanks a lot, appreciate it. No props, but you guys are prepared. We've got kind of one angle that way and one angle that way. So,
Okay. All right. Thank you. Questions from the board?
I had, I guess, two.
Sure.
I'm guessing this is all going to be drive-through. There's not going to be any
No,
sales inside.
there's dine in.
You have sales inside as
Yes,
well,
yes, we have seating
and then parking for that will be
right
across
in front
the
and
front.
across from it. Yeah.
And my second question, I guess, was signage. Are you going to be putting up anything besides on the building, or is it going to be out in
Well,
the
that's
park?
something we were just talking about. Typically, in a center like this, you would have a sign that had all the tenants on it, and in this case, there's just the one sign for the car parts thing, O'Reilly's. I would like to, and again, we're just kind of discussing that. Jay's looking at even the possibility of replacing the car parts sign and doing one that would have all three tenants on it. And those would all be submitted under a separate permit, as would our building signs. Typically, we would have, in this kind of an area with the traffic, the way it is, one on the side, one on the front, again, depending upon your requirements in terms of your criteria for signage. And I would like to put in a couple of directional signs. I was thinking about, and at this point, again, it just depends on the conduit, but at least something in this area here, just something short that just, drive through kind of a thing. And currently the main sign, I think this is it right here for the O'Reilly's. I was surprised. I thought something would have been there for the bank, but apparently not. And so that's something we're actually looking at, but we wouldn't do anything, of course, without your approval.
Thank you. Randy?
I'm good. I don't have any. My questions were answered.
So when we're looking at just from a drive-through perspective, the main things we look at is the lighting, the stacking, traffic flow. Those are the main things we're considering. And so we do have the in granting a conditional use permit, we do have the opportunity to put conditions in there that would speak to our zoning resolution. So the board may choose to say one of the conditions is that you would provide a minimum of 10 spaces for stacking of cars consistent with our zoning resolution, just so we have that clear.
Sure, that's not a problem. Because honestly, I think that would be covered clearly at the back of the building. I don't see it even going out to the side.
Just Chris, what do you foresee your hours of operation being?
We're usually about 10 to 10,
Is that how many days a week?
7.
7.
And I'm speaking, I mean, I'm not in operations. Sometimes they do something weird, but it's never later than 10.
Okay.
Some of our locations, and I doubt it'll be this one, but serve a breakfast sometimes too. So, but this is actually the franchisee for this store is a partner with our company owner. There's actually a Charlie. His name's Charlie Shin. He started this company in 1986 with a 440 square foot dine-in seating restaurant across from Ohio State University on High Street. He's first generation Korean, and he was within the Korean community. He started franchising in the late 80s, early 90s. And he always used to say he never really started making any money till he had about 200 stores. I started with the company in 2007, and we had 230 stores then. We're at about 850 right now, with the goal of hitting 1,000 by the end of this year. And within 2 years, he wants to be at 2,000 stores. So it's quite an operation. But the franchise of this store is a partner with Charlie. And I don't know what the percentage is. I'm sure it's something like 49-51 or whatever. So we treat these as a company store as well. So, and the particular partner, her name is Sally Sod, and she has about 30 stores across the country. I mean, literally from Washington State to Annapolis, Maryland, and she's one of our absolute best operators. And she has a structure within her side of the company in the sense of managers and how you can get. I mean, she has one guy who's like her next down person, but then she's got a level of like directors, and I mean, so there are opportunities for the lowest crew person to actually rise up through her structure and so forth. And then we have a whole thing with help with assistance with furthering education and things like that. So it's been a good company to work for. I mean, it's kind of like a big mom and pop company in some ways, because it's, you can walk into Charlie's office and talk to him. I mean, it's not corporate America kind of thing. So I'm kind of proud to work there.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I take it there's no one here to speak against the, okay, just need to
No.
need to do that. Okay, then I think I would like for, if one of the board members would entertain a motion for the conditional use permit.
I did have one question. Are we required to add the hours? My only fear is, you mentioned you're not in operations. If we put a stipulation on the conditional use and we make it for 3 years or 5 years, that condition is now in the conditional use. So if we were to say the hours of operation are 10 to 10, 7 days a week, then it can't be operated at 9 a.m. for breakfast. See what I mean? So
I don't really see any problem. Sally runs her stores pretty much 10 to 10. I can get the absolute, thing to you in the morning, for that matter.
Question for Harley, do you have any thoughts for us? And then the question to you about when they come before the board for the final permits, is that when we might be able to address the hours of operation?
No, so this will be the only time that they come before the board.
Okay.
So their approval for operations of the restaurant is approvable at administrative level. From a staff perspective, I would say that the conditions that seem to make the most sense to me on this site is that, here, let me turn this back on actually. Is obviously that they meet the minimum stacking space requirements, preferably in the back here before it starts potentially negatively affecting parking spaces for O'Reilly's. So I would say that what I feel would be a reasonable condition is 10 stacking spaces to the rear of the structure and a directional sign here. I think that's just a good idea because
I
it's
agree.
sort of an odd
Yeah.
way that
It
it's
is.
got to go all the way around the building. And so just so people understand how to get there, I would say that due to the requirement of the 10 stacking spaces to the rear of the structure and directional signage to the northeast of the property would be my
And we would
recommendations.
also stripe that too. I mean, right there at the corner of the building, it'd say drive
Drive
through
through.
and have the lane going all the way around with arrows and that kind of thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we very much want people to be correct.
Know how to get there. Yeah, which
And
I
get
think
out.
I obviously that's the best practice thing, and I would assume that you guys would be doing that no matter what. But just
I mean, we can lock in the 10 to 10 right now. I don't.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
and just to answer your question, you guys aren't required to make the hours of operation a condition. Those tend to be very useful when you're looking at like outdoor dining for bars and things like that. But in this instance, you guys wouldn't be required to.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
And the period of time, we can make this a 1 year, a 3 year, a 5 year is the maximum that we can apply to a conditional use permit. What would you like that to be?
The lease is for 5 years right now.
5
They
years.
have options
Okay.
at their option.
Okay.
All that would mean at the end of 5 years,
Actually, they have a 10-year lease, so.
what that would mean at the end of 5 years, all you would need to do is reapply for in many cases, you're not even required to come before the board. But it would depend on, how things go between now and when the time for renewal is up. So we have the ability to grant up to 5 years.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Okay. So I will make a recommendation that we approve case number 2023-0005-BZA with the following conditions. For drive-through service, a minimum stacking requirement of 10 to the rear of the structure. Condition number 2, directional signage to be posted to the northeast of the property. Condition number 3, hours of operation are from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days per week. And condition number 4, a period of 5 years for the conditional use permit.
Is there a second?
Sure. Second.
You want to read that back to us, Rachel, to make sure you have everything before we take the vote?
Okay. I have hours of operation Monday through Sunday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. A minimum of 10 stacking spaces to the rear of the structure. A directional signage to the northeast of the property, and for a 5-year term.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Would you call the vote, please?
Okay. Dale,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
and Vice Chairman.
Yes. Okay, so the CUP, the conditional use permit's granted. Now, question we have for you is, when would you like to get started on this? The reason I ask is, typically the minutes from this meeting aren't formally approved to the next meeting, which would be in May. But we have the ability to do a process called journalization, where if we voted to journalize tonight, then your conditional use permit would be effective right now, and you could proceed with whatever.
I think these guys are still 60 days or so away from.
That's right.
Right now,
Yeah.
I'm reviewing bids from general contractors
Okay.
with a hope of starting in early May. However, we've been added to an additional need of a civil engineer review of the freeze trap. And the drawings for that should be ready this week, and those have to be submitted and reviewed. So the overall permit, I'm sure, is at least 30 days away, if not more.
Okay. Well, it might be to your advantage if we were to journalize, so you can say you
Well, that'd
have
be
all,
great, just in
have all
case
that in
we-
place.
I almost think since we're time constrained, and they won't be operating for business until say July, maybe to wait, since it's only for a term of 5 years, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So we're just, I don't know, we're buying, what's today, the 11th, so we're buying
Month or two.
another
Another-
45 days or
right.
something.
Okay.
Right. Fair enough.
Yeah. Just a comment, I wouldn't let that concern you too much about getting a reapproved in 5 years. It's, unless there's a problem with
Right.
parking or, you know, something that would make it undesirable to have you there. Otherwise, it's gonna be a pretty easy decision to make. And
Well, you guys know better than me, but I mean, if it was a problem for the bank,
right.
I don't think it's going to be a problem for Santa's Place.
I
Yep.
just think, we're at least 30 days out from wanting to start construction.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
whatever works best for you guys. I appreciate the
Certainly.
All right. So is it so we've already approved the conditional use permit, so, would you like for us to journalize or maybe hold off?
Yeah, I would say, heck with the 45 days, I'd say let's get it.
Yeah, we can wait until
Now.
your other process carries on since these guys aren't ready.
Okay.
Okay, very good. So then we won't
Less,
do that.
less extra work.
Very
So
good.
you're
Thanks.
gonna journal it or not? I don't know.
It sounds like the recommendation is to not journalize and just wait the extra 30 days, because within 30 days, our next meeting, it'll be cast in stone anyway.
Okay,
So,
fine.
Yeah, which would be on May 9th. So.
Yeah, we won't be starting before then.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the journalization only affects the operation of the drive-through, not the construction itself.
Oh, okay, well, yeah. that's right.
good point.
Yeah, it's really kind of a moot point to do that at this point because it's for the drive-through
Yeah,
only.
we're looking at some point in
Okay.
July, best case,
Good.
barring any unforeseen circumstances.
And to the topic of renewing after 5 years, it's typically not an issue for the businesses in the township. There has to be like a specific, like a major issue or something that was unanticipated, and by then you would have already been in communication with the zone, and we'd be working with you to try to resolve anything that came up. So,
Sounds good.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've had pretty regular communications, with the different personnel here, at the township on different topics anyway, so imagine we would hear.
Pretty quick.
If you were burning your grease out back, we would know. Someone would say something. So,
so we want to welcome you to the township.
You clearly know before me, I'm a West Sider.
there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely welcome.
Yeah,
So,
congratulations. All right.
look forward to having you there.
All right.
Look forward to it.
All right, that closes out the public hearing of our board. You're free to stay or go.
Thanks very much. We
you're-
appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you for your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh,
Thank you.
you can put that right there on that counter.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Drive safely back to the west side.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. See you at the ballgame.
There you go.
Bye. So-
Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I'd like to open the regular meeting. Does anyone have any comments or suggested changes to the minutes from our March 14th meeting? Hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as written. Thank you, Rachel, for a nice job as always. Any old business? Any new business before the board? Okay, if not, then need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
For a second,
Yes, not second.
Dale, could you call the vote, please?
Okay, Dale,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
and Vice Chairman.
Yes. Okay, we stand adjourned. Thank you. All right.
Do we have anything for next